Now, what you saying, peeps? If you don't know, you should know. It's your boy JD, and I am back once again. Now, as you can see, I'm not in my usual fortress of solitude. I pretty much just hijacked the Double D compound to give you my top 25 games of all time. Now, before I get to this, right, I just want to let you know that I'm going to go through the first 20 in a random order because it is so hard to pick 25 games and put them in order from best to worst, because I can't do it, man. There's so many to choose from. So I'll give you my top 5 in order, but the first 20 will be in a random order, okay? Also, I've seen D's list, I've seen Digger's list, and I've also noticed that they got some games on their list which I would have had on my list. So I didn't want to pick the same things as they did, because I would have had the same reasons as they did. So I'm going to pick some alternate games, just so I can make it a bit more fair, and so you know what I'm on about, yeah. And also, one more thing before I get started, these are games which I've owned, I've played for hours on end, and I've basically put this list on how these games make me feel and how much I enjoyed the games. So you might not agree with the list, but it's my list, okay? Mine. So without further ado, let's get started, shall we? Boom! Now, number 1, it's going to be for the Nintendo, the NES. It has to be Double Dragon to start off with. Double Dragon was like the predecessor to Streets of Rage, like a side-scrolling beat-em-up game, a two-player beat-em-up game. Before Streets of Rage, Double Dragon was like one of the best side-scrolling beat-em-up games I've ever played, and I absolutely loved it. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, Super Mario Bros. 3. Which was, I think, for most people, one of the best Mario games ever, right? I enjoyed it mostly because of the music. Because even when I first got the first phones with polyphonic ringtones and things like that, I had Mario 3 ringtones on my phone, and just the amount of times that I played it so many times, and I put so many hours into that game as well. It's just one of the best games that I've ever played. They're my first 2 for the NES. Done. Next up, for the SNES, Super Mario Kart. Again, another fantastic game. I think, how can I say it now? A legendary game, because it started off a new franchise in go-karting, because normally you get games like Gran Turismo and Fast and Furious, they're Need for Speed. They all use just normal, actual real cars and stuff. This one's just pure out, balls to the wall, just go-karting, madness and mayhem, dashing out shells and weapons and all that kind of stuff. One of the most enjoyable games that I've ever played in my life. Obviously, the 64 version was a lot better because everyone loved that game. I never met one person who hasn't played that game. So, you know, that's the SNES version. Moving on to the Mega Drive. It was hard to choose because I had a few on my list at first, but it has to go down to, as I mentioned before, Streets of Rage. Just like Double Dragon, it was a really, really well put together at the time side-scrolling beat 'em up, because it only had 3 characters to choose from, but those 3 characters had moves like no one else had moves at the time. I absolutely loved it, and once again, I put so much of hours, so many hours into that game. I just couldn't put the game down. It's just one of the games that it's hard to explain, but it's just one of those games where you have to once you play it, you can't stop. So that's I think that's number 4 now on my list. I'm not even counting, I'm just gonna keep going. Moving on to the PS1. I think when I first had the PS1, I had so many demos. Thousands of demos, well, I won't say thousands, but I had so many demos with so many games on there, that it wasn't until 2 years after I bought the PS1 where I bought my first game. True story, because I had so many demos from the magazines that I used to get, so I just played demos over and over and over again. But the first game I got was Tekken 1, and it was a nice change from Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, which I'll get onto later on. But Tekken was one of the first 3D fighting games, which, for one, was like really, really effective on the fighting game genre, because I don't think no one knew how big it was going to get. And secondly, I think Virtua Fighter, I can't really remember, I think Virtua Fighter came out before that, but when Tekken came out, it just pretty much shat all over Virtua Fighter. So that's my reason for picking Tekken. And don't just mean Tekken 1, I mean Tekken 1, 2 and 3, because all three of those games are as good as each other. So Tekken, Tekken 2 and Tekken 3, they are like one of my favorite PS1 games I played. The second PS1 game that I'm going to put on my list is Bust a Groove. And the reason I'm picking that is because when I had it for a demo, me and one of my friends, we played that for hours on end, because you can only pick like 2 people in the demo, but we played that for so long, it was just like, it was like an addiction to play that game. And again, it's very, very, very competitive, even though it's like it was on a demo. And plus, when I got the real game, the amount of times where I beat my friend, the amount of times he beat me, and we just kept going back and forth, back and forth. It was like the first non-competitive game that I played, which became competitive. Can't get my words out now. So yeah, Bust a Groove definitely was on my list for the best games that I've ever played. Now moving on to one of the best consoles I've ever owned is Nintendo 64. And one of the best games I've played on Nintendo 64. I know D had on his games list, I think it was WCW, NWO Revenge. I think Digger had that as well. But for me, I'm going to go with WWF No Mercy. Not WWE, WWF No Mercy, right? WrestleMania 2000 was a great game. It was like laid the foundation, I should say, because there are some things in that game where it was good, but you could tell at the same time it wasn't really polished. At the time of playing it as well, I always knew that there was going to be a sequel to it, but I just didn't know how long it would take or how it would pan out. But I did remember actually saying to my friend that playing this game that, oh, I bet they make like a new WrestleMania game, like WrestleMania 2001 or WrestleMania 2002 or something daft like that, yeah. But when it came out with No Mercy, it was like one of the best games I played. I think I've said that about 4 or 5 times now in this video. But you know, creating a character, which I will spend more time doing that than playing actual gameplay, which is pretty sad, but it's one of those things I'm into. But yeah, any game that you can create a character in, it's always going to be like a good game for me to play. It'll always be my radar. Second game for the N64, Mario 64. I mean, again, it was like the first games come out for the N64, and it sold so many copies, and it's one of those games where it took so long. Well, for me, with my personal experience, it took me so long to complete because it was so hard to get all those stars and find the hidden stars as well. And that's why, like, because it took me so long to complete, I was so hard and like just trying to flip in. I didn't want to quit the game without getting all the stars, and that's why those kind of games always stick with me the most. So yeah, Mario 64, WWF No Mercy, N64 games. There are a couple of few on there as well that I would have picked. Some obvious ones like GoldenEye, Diddy Kong Racing, they're on there. They would have been on there as well, but for other reasons, D or Digger, they had them on that list. So I thought, you know what, I'll leave that away. I'll leave that, you know. Moving on to sticking with Nintendo theme, I'm onto the GameCube now. The first game that I have for the GameCube, which makes my list, is 007 Nightfire. Now, 007 Nightfire, it's going to be probably a big statement this, but I think it is the most enjoyable game, James Bond game I played since GoldenEye. Dare I say it? Dare I say it? Right? Better than GoldenEye. Now, a lot of you guys probably thinking now, like, what the fuck are you talking about? Why is it better than GoldenEye? Why is it this? Why is it that? The reason why I think it's better than GoldenEye is because, don't get me wrong, yeah, GoldenEye 007 will always be one of the best first-person shooters ever. Because without GoldenEye, there would be no Halo, there would be no Call of Duty, no Battlefield or any of that crap, right? GoldenEye started the whole thing off. You could argue that Doom started it off because Doom came out before GoldenEye. So I'll say like Doom was like the predecessor, like it was just like a test for first person shooters. Duke Nukem as well, you could say. But when GoldenEye came out, boy, that just like changed the game. Literally changed the game. But 007 Nightfire had other mechanics to it as well, because you could there were levels where you can like drive the Aston Martin as well. There were Aston Martin missions, there were helicopter missions, as well as like the standard first person go around killing people and like decrypting stuff and things like that. So all that stuff aside, yeah, the story was better as well because it was an original story for an original game. Because GoldenEye was based off the movie. 007 Nightfire was like a completely original game with the original storyline, all that stuff. A very good storyline as well, which I think could have been made into a movie, but I just don't think it would have been as good as GoldenEye. But 007 Nightfire, if you've not played that before, man, then you missed out on that, because I think that is a very, very enjoyable shooter, first-person shooter, especially with multiplayer, because that was just one of the best I've ever played. That's like number 7 now, I said that. Sticking on with the GameCube, Def Jam Fight for New York, I think is the best fighting game I played on the GameCube, simply because of the campaign on it. Yeah, you can create your own character on Def Jam Fight for New York, and again, the storyline and the in the campaign with all the rappers in, you had like Ludacris, Busta Rhymes, Snoop Dogg was like the main villain, the main boss. I think his name was Crow. Busta Rhymes was called Magic. Method and Redman were like, I can't remember their names, but they were like part of your crew. Like Busta Rhymes, Fat Joe, Luke, and all the other guys were part of Snoop Dogg's crew. And it's just like, it was mad being like involved in that world with my character, mixing up with like all these different rappers and like guys who I really like to listen to. So it was a great game. The Def Jam Icon was like nothing like that, because I think it was tried to make it look more relevant, but it just flopped. So Def Jam Fight for New York was a lot better than Def Jam Icon, in my opinion. Moving on to the Wii, Nintendo Wii. There's only one game I enjoyed on that, and that was the new Super Mario Brothers. Basically because it was a nice refresher for the old school Mario game for the Nintendo, the NES. I don't think anything would be better than the original, but at least it made it look more, what's the word I'm looking for? More better. Let's just go with that, yeah. Made it look more better. Polished it up a little bit, made it look more nice to look at and things like that. New power-ups, new 2-player mode, a few new levels stuck in there as well. Yeah, if you're not played, if you're too young to play the original on the NES, then you should definitely play the new one on the Wii and find out why people still love the old version. So if you played the new version, then you know why people love the old version, and then you understand the whole physics of why Mario was such an iconic, legendary game. Moving on to some big boy consoles now. Big man consoles. Oh, hang on a minute, I actually forgot one. Check me out, man, I can't stop. Sonic the Hedgehog 1 for the Master System. I mean, if you didn't play Mario, you had to play Sonic, right? If you didn't play Sonic, you played Mario. So it's like, it's one of them ones where like if you don't play one, you play the other. I played both, so I'm happy with that. Sonic the Hedgehog 1. I didn't enjoy it as much as Mario, but again, it's the music and it was something so different. It was more fast paced. It was more intricate levels. All the levels had layers as well, so you couldn't just like go through tunnels and stuff and like find yourself in a whole new room. You have to go down something or up something to go into another part of the level, which I liked. I think Mario missed a trick on that one. Now onto the big boy consoles. 360. There's Titanfall. A very, very, very good game. It's sort of like a mix between Call of Duty meets Transformers, maybe. You start off as like a first-person shooter, and then like you jump into like a massive mech and go into some proper hardcore mech battles and that. One of the best things about that, it had the one of the first games I think had the SMART system, SMART, which stands for Smooth Movement Across Random Terrain. And basically what that meant was like, normally with a first-person shooter, when you went into like a low wall, you stop there, right? And then you try to like duck down or whatever. With Titanfall, you run into a low wall and like you automatically roll over it and do some mad parkour shit. And that was all automatic as well. You could do wall runs in that. You could do like flipping, I can't remember what the rest of it is now. You can do like wall runs and like jump on the back of mechs and shoot out the brains and things like that and hijack them, all that kind of stuff. So Titanfall is without a doubt one of the best games I played. Now moving on, to Brink. Brink was like I think one of the first person shooters on the 360, and I made a mistake as well because it was actually Brink that had the very first smart movement, again which stands for smooth movement across random terrain, because that was the one where you can like do vaults and stuff over the walls and things like that, and then other shooters followed suit. But Brink was like it was a game where it was all based on teamwork. You can create your own character, which again I love, and each character had their own specific objective to do, whether it's either hacking something, engineering something, or like just basically sniping people or shooting people up while the person like hacked something. It was all based on teamwork, not just shooting people. It was all on a team-based shooting game. There's nothing to do with like just most kills wins, even though that's an option on one of the game modes. But the main emphasis on Brink was like all about teamwork. You couldn't complete a mission by yourself. You need the whole team, and it's hard to play online sometimes because every time you play online, you always have this one guy who's a loose cannon. If you want, he will never stick to the mission at hand. You always go around killing people and that. But on the chances when it does happen, and you start completing missions and you start working together as a team, it's so gratifying. And you need to make a Brink 2. I think people like because a lot of people are into Call of Duty and Battlefield. I think Brink sort of like just got pushed aside really, and no one really gave it a chance. I gave it a chance because with me, when it comes to games, I try and like stay away from like the main franchises like Call of Duty, FIFA, all that kind of stuff. I try and go for like the lesser known franchises because that's where you find some of the hidden gems. And for me, Brink is definitely a hidden gem in my opinion. I think they should definitely make a Brink 2, a Brink 3, a Brink franchise they should do. I think Brink is definitely it has the foundation anyway, so you can just build on that and make it an even better game than Call of Duty. Right. PS2. Again, I have so many games for the PS2, so many games, and it's hard to choose. But I've managed to put it down to 5. The first one will be Devil May Cry, the series 1, 2, and 3. I love hack and slash games. I absolutely love them. It became my very favourite PS2 game to play at the time. Again, hack and slash games. There were so many levels to complete. Got my chest action going on. It was definitely a hard game to complete. There were so many a huge variety of bad guys to kill, plus so many like different ways to maneuver and navigate around your surroundings as well. Because it was one of those games where you don't just actually go around killing people or killing bad guys. You have to actually like use every single move in your move set to complete the mission, not just walk through, kill someone, and there you go. You got like walk through, kill someone, climb up here, use like a chain or something to get to somewhere and do this and do that. So it was all about like using everything in your arsenal to complete the game. The second PS2 game that I love playing, and it's probably like a lesser known game, it's Leisure Suit Larry Magna Cum Laude. It's a game that I first had for the PC when I first bought it. When I got it for the PS2, I binged on that game so hard. It's one of those games where, let me think, you start off as like one guy who's like a cartoonish type of person. You go around a college campus, you play like all these mad drinking games or mad, the kind of games you play in college, like, you know, Truth or Dare, or you know, cards or drinking games, things like that, strip poker. Everything was like, you know, just again full on balls to the wall. It was an adult game, but it had like a sense of humor about it. So it's rated 18. So I wouldn't recommend buying this for your kids. It's for adults only. But it's a game again like where it's cheeky as fuck, but it's so funny as well. I can play that game right now and not get bored of it. Not at all. The third game is a game which should have happened. It was long overdue, I think. It's The Matrix Path of Neo. When the Enter the Matrix game came out, that's what the Path of Neo should have been, if you know what I mean. Because when it was announced that they're going to make a Matrix video game, I think, well, for me, I think pretty much everyone assumed that you play Neo anyway and start doing all that kind of stuff. But then they let us down with this crappy, shitty game which made no sense to me whatsoever. It was meant to be like a continuation from The Matrix 2. So it follows the story of Matrix 2, then that goes into Matrix Revolutions or Matrix 3. But that game is so shit, it didn't need to be made. It did not need to be made, that game, man. I think it blemished the trilogy, in my opinion. Yeah, it's not that. The more I talk about it, I want to talk about it, but Path of Neo is basically everything not what the Matrix game should have been like. You play as Neo. There were so many different. Obviously, you play through some missions based on the movie, but there were a load of missions that weren't in the movie, which was a nice touch. Especially the last bad guy, because you think the final mission was going to be just you and fighting Smith, like in the last fight of the Revolutions, yeah. But then once you completed that, you got like a massive King Kong size flipping Smith, made out of like flipping all trucks and buildings and shit. You got to try and fight him as well. Again, a nice twist. It's a very, very good twist and a good thing that to do in the game, because I don't think no one saw that coming. Next game for the PS2 list, Need for Speed, specifically the Underground series. Well, I say Underground series, from Need for Speed Underground up until now, those are the games that I like to play. If I didn't have Mario Kart, Need for Speed would be the game I play. It's the only racing game that I play apart from Mario Kart, because it's the only racing game I think is worthy of being played by everyone. Forget Gran Turismo because of the realism. Forget what's that new one called now? Cars or Project Cars, where it has like about 1,000 cars in there. If you're a car nut, then fair enough, man. Go nuts and pick your Volkswagen Golf or your Beetle and shit and race around some random track. But if you want to get chased by a 5-0, if you want to like flipping, just have some mad Fast and Furious type street races, then Need for Speed is the game you got to play, man. Simple as that. I love that game. The best one I played. It's hard to choose. I can't really decide which is the best Need for Speed I played, which is why I picked the Need for Speed Underground franchise, or at least Need for Speed Underground up until the latest one, which is I think Need for Speed Most Wanted, or whichever one it is. But yeah, if you like Fast and Furious, then hit up Need for Speed. Don't get Gran Turismo. Don't get Project Cars. Don't get flipping, some random shitty racer which ain't Mario Kart or ain't Need for Speed. Just don't get it. Get either Mario Kart or Need for Speed. They're the only racing games you need to play. Right. Finally, up from a PS2 game, it's gonna be Mortal Kombat, the series. Again, it's a nice change. I'll never get tired of Tekken, never get tired of Street Fighter, but Mortal Kombat is a game which, again, I loved playing. The best Mortal Kombat game I played has to be Armageddon, because only for the fact that you can create your own character in there. It's the first fighting game I played where you can create a character in there, which is something that Street Fighter needs to do. Same with Tekken. That's the one thing that I think that the fighting game series, the fighting game industry needs to think about, start having a creative fighter in there. But I mean, everyone knows about Mortal Kombat by now, so I'm sure you guys all have your favorites in that. So, but for me, Armageddon was definitely the best one. I think I missed one game actually for my GameCube, and I'm gonna go back onto that one, and it's actually Sonic Adventure 2. Sonic Adventure 1, what I have for the Dreamcast, was a great game, but it was there was so much wrong with it. I didn't finish. No, as a matter of fact, I did finish it one time with Tails, because he was the only player who could fly. Knuckles could fly as well, but it wasn't as great, and his missions were so annoying because all his missions were just like digging around looking for the emerald. Tails, as though it was a lot easier to complete. The missions were great. They were so like fast and like just mind-boggling. I loved every single mission on that game. There's just like so much on that game that which I couldn't bring myself to like, which is why when Sonic Adventure 2 came out and I played that, I loved every single bit of that game because they got everything right. They fought to a little bit on number 1, fair enough. You know, they're just like testing things out. Sonic Adventure 2, they had everything like just to a point, to a T. You know, so like the players like about 8 or 9 characters, and each character had their own specific move set, and they also had their own specific levels as well. So you wouldn't get bored of playing like the same levels over and over and over and over and over again. So it's so hard not to like a game like that with so much variety and so many choices to make. Whew, which is it's I'm getting excited now. I'm not playing these games right now. But yeah, so those are my top 20. Not in any order, but I'm moving on now to my top 5. So brace yourself. Again, my top 5, there were some games on there which SEGA and D already had for their top 5. So I sort of like switched up a little bit and added in some alternates in there. So from 5 to 1, from like the least to the best. Number 5 is going to be Diddy Kong Racing, a game which I don't think a lot of people would give it a chance because everyone loved Mario Kart so much. And again, which I agree with, Mario Kart is the best racing game for the N64 out there. But I have to say, Diddy Kong Racing has so much more to offer, man. You can race on go-kart, hovercraft, or airplane. That's one reason right there, right? You had adventure mode where you can go around the whole, like a free roam, go on islands and that, and like, you know, meet up with people. That's two reasons. They had 5, I think it was 4 or 5 different worlds, with each one had like their own. They all had like at least 5 different tracks, their own battle arena, and their own bosses. So like 5 different bosses to race against, right? That's 3 reasons why I should like it. And also just for the fact that it was something different to, I mean, the guys who made it at Rare, they want to compete with Mario Kart, which I applaud, because knowing how big Mario Kart is and they want to try and like go toe to toe with them, probably knowing that they might, you know, get fucked up or whatever, no one would like it. But I liked it. I absolutely loved it. And again, it's a game which I don't think got the credit it was deserved. It's definitely a game where if I play it now, I'd still enjoy it. I think if a lot of people would play it now, they would enjoy it. If I did a survey of like, what would you enjoy more, Mario Kart or Diddy Kong Racing, everyone would pick Mario Kart. I can guarantee you that right now. Only because they're not familiar with Diddy Kong Racing. But if you put in like enough hours into it, or at least play at least like this one world, yeah, Diddy Kong Racing on one player or multiplayer, this one world, and see how much you enjoy it then, right? So Diddy Kong Racing is my number 5. Number 4 is going to be Perfect Dark. The reason why I picked that is because obviously GoldenEye was already chosen by D and Dig, I think, or one of the two. Perfect Dark was like a game which perfected, no pun intended, everything that GoldenEye didn't have. GoldenEye will always be like the best first-person shooter, I think, for many people. But in Perfect Dark, pretty much like, again, the same with like how Mario Brothers on the Wii perfected the NES version. Perfect Dark perfected everything what GoldenEye didn't have. They had more weapons, a lot more smoother gameplay, which was like the most obvious one for me. And it was just more fun to play, a lot more fun to play. And then what I remember specifically as well about Perfect Dark was like, once Perfect Dark made the rounds and like became like a really good first person shooter, and then it was announced that Perfect Dark Zero will come out on the 360. And if you haven't played Perfect Dark Zero, don't play it. Do not play Perfect Dark Zero, because I don't understand how like a game can go from here, from the N64 version, which is like one of the best ones out there, to like down here. It became like one of the shittest first person shooters ever. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Perfect Dark was like just the perfect game to play. If you didn't have GoldenEye, or GoldenEye was like pretty much like out of dated now, then you play Perfect Dark. Simple and plain. So yeah, Perfect Dark has to make my top 5, man. Number 3, I know Digger pretty much just like made it obvious like he loves GTA. I love GTA too, but if I had to pick one GTA game, and it's going to be like a hard one to pick because San Andreas was like one of the best ones out there, but for me, GTA 3 has to be on my top 5. It's the game that pretty much kicked off or revolutionized the open world or open city roam around type game. Because without that, there would be no like GTA 4, 5, San Andreas, Vice City, all that kind of stuff. It wouldn't be as good as it was now. Because remember the top-down version for the first 2, the bird's eye view, and that was good. But then like when they changed the game again and made it into like a 3D world, we can go around cities and like go into buildings, drive cars and that, listen to radio stations on the cars, interact with people more. It was just like a complete game compared to GTA 1 and 2. So GTA 3 makes my list because it was the one that kicked off the revolution of the GTA games, like San Andreas, Vice City, Gaytona, all them other ones and that. Without them, without GTA 3, they wouldn't be as good as they are now. Number 2, I mean, anyone that knows me knows that if there's one game or one fighting game that has to be the best ever, then it goes without saying Street Fighter. No matter what console it's on or what version you play, Street Fighter is like the ultimate. It's like the best, the game, the fighting game to play. Right? I mean, you got like Tekken, Mortal Kombat, Dead or Alive, all the other fighting games as well, but it's all about Street Fighter. I think Street Fighter 2, when I first started playing it, was like, I think if I had to calculate like how many hours I put into that game, I think I'd have to say like about 4 or 5 years worth of my life got put into that game on Street Fighter 2 and Street Fighter 2 Turbo and all them other ones, man. God, there was so many times where I got my ass kicked on that, and so many times I kicked ass in that game. Brings back so many memories. There's only like 2 blemishes on the entire legacy of Street Fighter that I can think of. 2. The first one was Street Fighter X plus Alpha, where it was like when Street Fighter tried to go 3D, like with Tekken, and this came out really, 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 really bad. But I think once they like realized that, okay, listen, we can't do 3D fighting like Tekken or Dead or Alive. Let's go back to our 2D plane, our 2D engine, and make it look better. Then Street Fighter 4 came out, and then you all know the story, right? The second blemish has to be that crappy Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. It was so crap. It was. I mean, the reason why I thought it was shit is because like it had so many characters in there. Like they tried to cram every single Street Fighter character in the film, but they had no like storyline to him. Like for example, like in the game, you got Ryu and Ken, who were like, masters of their martial arts. Ryu is like, just the perfect of all of our martial artists. All he does is fight. He's looking around, looking for like the perfect opponent, the strongest, someone stronger than him basically to fight him. Kenny's like the same kind of guy, but he's like a cocky, flashy, arrogant kind of guy who's like a head of a multi-million-dollar corporation. But in like the Van Damme film, Ryu and Ken are just like some con artists, some gun smugglers, which what? And then you got like Chun-Li, who in the game she's like an Interpol officer. Balrog, who's like a vicious boxer, and E Honda, who's like a well-known sumo wrestler in the game, right? In the film, Chun-Li is like a news reporter, Balrog's a fucking cameraman, and E Honda's like some guy who's from Hawaii. He's not even Japanese. He's from Hawaii, and he's there in the back of the truck like all they do on technical shit. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here, man? I don't get it. I just, oh my, just talking about it now just gets me a bit fired up. So yeah, so those are the two things wrong with Street Fighter Legacy: the Street Fighter film and the X Plus Alpha. But put them aside, the Street Fighter franchise altogether is like just without Street Fighter, I don't know like how my life would be, my life would be without Street Fighter. It had such an impact on my life, man. Like I can't live without Street Fighter now. I don't think I've gone like at least a week without playing some kind of Street Fighter game. I'm on Street Fighter 5 right now. If you want to play me, then make sure you check out my PS4 gamer tag down below, JD Virtue. But yeah, the Street Fighter Legacy or the Street Fighter franchise has to be number 2 on my list. Now moving on to my top all-time favorite, just ultimate video game. There are some games where you love, there's some games you like, and there are some games that you're obsessed with and addicted to. With me, Mass Effect, the trilogy, is a game that I am addicted to. Completely addicted to. I won't even talk about Andromeda because that game was just a flop on the franchise, but Mass Effect 1, 2 and 3 are without a doubt my favourite video games of all time. For a couple of reasons. The first one was how I became introduced to the game, to the Mass Effect 1 basically. Where, quick story, I was walking around town, I was bored out of my head, had some money on me, and wanted to buy a new game, something I'd never played before. I picked up Mass Effect 1, looked in the back of it, it said you can create your own character. Bing! So I thought, okay then, that's one reason why I should buy it. Plus it's like a space age opera, like a space opera kind of thing, like Star Wars or Star Trek, whatever. I like Star Wars. Bing! That's the second reason, so I thought, okay then, I'll buy it. And it was cheap as well, so it was like £6 I paid for it. So yeah, I went home, put it in, and started playing it, and it took me. I know for a fact I played. The first time I played it for 13 hours. Yeah, 13 hours straight, from 12 in the afternoon till 1. I think it was like 1:15 in the morning, something like that. I played, and I didn't complete the game yet because it's such a long game, a vast game, and game where, you know, it's sort of like, the best way for me to describe it is like starring in your own space, your own like sci-fi movie, because every decision you make has a consequence, yeah. And you also begin to care about your crew as well. The more you talk to your comrades or the people on your crew, the more you actually start to care about them. So like if you made a decision on something and that character dies because of the choice that you made, you genuinely feel bad about it. And that's why I think, you know, Mass Effect is one of those games where it actually like makes you tug at your heartstrings and makes you actually care about the characters that you play with. I've never played a game like that before, man. I've never ever played a game where you know, I felt bad when one of my characters or someone on my crew actually died, or you know, I got frustrated at times when like I wanted to make a decision on something but I couldn't because like if I did, I knew that person would die or a whole planet could get destroyed. You know, those are the kind of choices that you'd make. You can either choose to save a planet or save some intel that will save the galaxy. Right? You can either choose to like, you know, save one person or, you know, sacrifice that person to save another person who might become useful to you in like in the next game, because Mass Effect 1, 2 and 3 they all had like I can't remember what it's called now, but you basically like import your character and all the choices that you made when you import your character from Mass Effect 1 and 2, they all have an impact on Mass Effect 3. So for example, if someone on your crew died in Mass Effect 1 who was like really good at like fixing things, she could have been really useful in Mass Effect 3, but you can't use him now because he died in Mass Effect 1. So now you've got to think of an alternate reason or something different to try and fix something in Mass Effect 3, because the guy who could have fixed it in Mass Effect 3 died in Mass Effect 1. You get what I'm saying? So it's like so many choices to make and so many just decisions that make you think long and hard about as well, because like you want to do well in the game. You don't want to like you know, make a decision and then like regret it later. So I've done that a few times in the game as well, and I still played on though and carried on. And I think I never ever thought I would love a game as much as Mass Effect. Never. I think that Mass Effect 1 is without a doubt my favourite single player game in history. It's gonna take a lot to like knock Mass Effect off my top spot. I think Street Fighter came close. In terms of like, I mean, for single player games, I don't think there is a game which can like beat Mass Effect. Nah, I don't think there is. Multiplayer game wise, Mass Effect, the multiplayer kind of like stole the idea of Gears of War. To be fair, the hard mode. I think because when it was first announced in Mass Effect 3 that there'd be multiplayer, straight away I assumed it's gonna be like death matches and not team death matches, but no, it's all just hard mode. And during the hard mode, you have certain objectives like during like say in wave 10, you have to try and like decrypt a computer or something, or hack into a computer while the guys are coming, and then during like wave 9 or whatever, you have to like try and save someone or escort someone to a spaceship and things like that. So it's yeah, man, it's you can't beat Mass Effect, man. I don't care what you say, yeah. But Mass Effect, I'm gonna record right now and say Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, the greatest single player game, in my opinion, in history. Okay? So I don't care what you say. You might say, oh no, what about The Last of Us or Tomb Raider or God of War? Like, fuck God of War, fuck Tomb Raider, fuck Last of Us, fuck all them other ones, man. It's all about Mass Effect. Now you could say, yeah, what about Andromeda? Listen, man, don't even mention that name around me, Mass Effect Andromeda, because after 5 years, 5 years after the release of Mass Effect 3, they had 5 years plus they had the Frostbite engine, plus they had all these different new game engines and things like that to use to make it look bigger and better. But what they fucked it up. They fucked up Mass Effect Andromeda, and that's why I just can't even bring myself to accept that as part of the Mass Effect franchise. So Mass Effect Andromeda is just like it's just a blemish, like a pimple on the face of Mass Effect. Just pop it and get rid of it. Don't bring that shit out again, man. You fucked up there, BioWare. You fucked up, man. But Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, again, like I said, it's definitely the best game I've ever played, or best games I've ever played in my life. Right. So yeah, so that's my top 25 or my top 5 Diddy Kong Racing, Perfect Dark, GTA 3, Street Fighter, and the Mass Effect franchise. But I think I'm happy with that list. Again, like I said before, I had a lot more games on the list as well, but I kept on changing them for obvious reasons, because like D and Digger picked them as well. And if I would have picked the same thing as they picked, I would have had the same reasons why they picked it as well. So that's why I didn't want to like go into that. So all these games that I've chosen are basically, I took into account how they made me feel when I played them, how much I enjoyed playing it, how many hours I put into the game, all that kind of stuff. I took all that into account while making this list. So yeah, if you disagree, then you disagree. If you do agree, then you agree. Post the comments down below. Let us know what you think. Give us your top 25 games list and what you think is your favourite game of all time. Let me know what you think of my list as well. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe and share. If you didn't, hit the like button, subscribe and share. Make sure you go and subscribe to that Double D team. The link will be in the description box down below. And I'll see you over on my channel, JD Virtue, for my next video. And I'll see you then. Peace.